Hello out there.
We're on the air.
It's Rink Moose talk tonight. The beers are cold.
The mics light up.
And the boys get set to fight. The gloves come off.
Opinions get thrown.
And someone slips on ice. One man howls.
The other scowls.
But the show must go on. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game.
You're an announcer with a long stick from time to time.
With hockey flows
and more shots known.
Pierre Maguire's life, not John's a Leaf,
Ovechkin's team,
and Hoffman's crazy wife. When Carey slumps
and Bergevin stomps,
Duran's not LaFontaine. Jokes aside,
it's podcast time,
and Rink Moose is the name.
Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rink Moose, a weekly episodic hockey podcast where two good friends get together and discuss all things NHL and their implications in the fantasy hockey universe.
Oh,
I am one of your... Here we go again, interrupting me on the intro. But I'll continue.
You're surprising me here. Changing it up, I like it.
All right. For those of you just tuning in for the first time, my name is Nick Costu. And once again, the schmuck who loves to interrupt me, the former Aurora Tiger, Kyle Nice. Kyle, how are you doing on this late Sunday evening?
Well, Nick, we're all part of this universe, and we're coming at you on a Sunday evening, which is new for us, or not usual. We usually come at you on a Thursday and release Saturday. So yeah, it's a bit of a sleepy Sunday, but we're going to deliver you one of our best episodes of all time. Of all time. And that's partly because we have such a juicy topic to start with. And that, of course, is the big Nylander signing. So the first thing Nylander thinks he can contribute to this team when he comes back, Nick, first thing he does is he takes Kasperi Kapanen and he fucking nails him in a car accident. So I just recently heard that these two were involved in a minor car accident. And not only that, but they've lost every game that Nylander's been a part of. So what's he doing over here? I mean, were you not training in Sweden? Do they not have facilities for you to actually sharpen your skills up here? Like, first of all, I know he wasn't driving because he's doing his chauffeur with all his money and his Rolls Royce and all that. But like, don't hurt Kapanen. What has he done wrong? You know? So I'm not happy about that. And yeah, onto the contract details. $6.9 million for 6 years. In my opinion, Nick, this is a pretty fair deal on both sides. I think Dubas did his job by sticking his feet in the ground and waiting this long. And I think Nylander and his agent, at the end of the day, they got probably more money than they would have by waiting this long. And I think he's probably pretty happy with it. So yeah, I see this as pretty even so far on both sides, just based on his value and where it's going. What do you think?
Well, I've been kind of beating the same drum during this whole saga here, because I was the opinion, hey, this guy's disposable. You have these other youngsters who can skate just like him, play just like him, and Janssen and Kapanen. What's the point of having the kid? And I guess you could assume where I'm going to come from here, and I don't know. I'm just not very pleased. But I don't know if it's more so the technicality of the deal that I'm displeased about, or if it's just the fact of re-signing Nylander. Because I was kind of with Brian Burke on this one, if you heard his comments, which was along the lines of, hey, listen, the guy's 6th best player on your team, maybe 7th. And you're paying him a hefty $6.9 million for the next 6 years. Do you really want to make that commitment for a guy who, when you look at the depth chart, isn't necessarily one of your staple players, so to speak? So that's kind of where I sit. I don't know about you, but I don't know if you agree with that. But
see, here's where I'm perplexed, and I don't know if you heard this, is that Kyle Dubas said that he made a promise to William. He said, Bill, As long as I'm the GM of this team, I will not trade you. And to me, I'm just shaking my head, and I'm like, why would you dig yourself into this hole? Like, why would you limit your options like this? And I know it's not like he's not contractually obligated, but you're gonna seem like a prick if you actually do anything. And at the end of the day, we take Burke's comments into consideration and then the dollar values, and you look at Matthews and Marner contracts coming up. I'm on the side of the fence that says one of these big names is still going to have to be moved for all this to really work out. I mean, we know we have Matthews and Marner coming up. Sources out there say that Matthews' contract could be anywhere from 10 to 13 million. In my humble and honest opinion, Nick, I say he's making 12 minimum. I think he can demand that kind of money, and especially with the salary cap going up. He might not make exact McDavid money, but if he comes in just under that, I could see it, man. I could really see it. And then it's like, what's Marner going to make? He's going to flirt with 10 million after the season we're seeing. So it's just, you made this big promise, and for some reason it went public. I think he said it went. I think he made it public. So I don't get this, and I think something's going to have to change.
Yeah, no, it's good you bring up that Dubas point, because a bit of me thought when I read the 6.9 over 6 and I saw the fact that the actual reality is the first year is front loaded, so more money is going towards the first year of the contract, and then it stabilizes progressively. I was like, okay, that might make sense here, because that means, okay, it's tradable, so maybe it's not long term, maybe it was just a short term thing, maybe it was just this year. You got a good shot at winning the cup. You don't want him sitting in Sweden. There were no trade partners to make a deal with, so you sign him, pay him a lot of money for this year, and just have him for this year, and then you can worry about trading him later, which was totally fine, totally on board with. But then when you listen to the comments where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm not trading him while I'm GM. Well, that's baloney. I mean, now you've locked yourself in for 6 years, because Dubas isn't going anywhere. I mean, I can't see them getting rid of him, which means that Nylander's not going anywhere. And if Nylander's not going anywhere, then how the hell are you going to free up the cap space? Because I was listening to, I believe this was on Tim and Sid. They were saying, hey, 26 million. If you look at the cap and how much it's going to escalate between this year and next year, the Leafs are going to have about 26 million in cap space. And if you think of Marner and Matthews, either way you cut it, 12 and 9, 11 and 10. Yeah. How you divvy up that money, it's going to be about 21 mil. 21 mil off 26, that's only 5. How the hell are you going to afford everybody else with just that 5 million? And we're talking Kapanen and Janssen and Gardner, and other key pieces. So it's as Pierre Maguire would say, it is cap space purgatory here.
And it's his favorite.
And we don't know what's just everything we're hearing. I guess the best way to sum it up was, we thought after this Nylander situation there'd be more clarity. You'd kind of have a sense of where things are going, how the Leafs are going to spread out their money moving forward. But now it's just you're asking even more questions after this deal, in my opinion.
Yeah, and this Nylander's almost set a precedent for these guys now, where you look at Nylander, and if he's going to dig his feet in and he's going to say, I want what I'm worth, why in God's green earth would Marner and Matthews not do the exact same thing? Why are they not saying to their agents, all right, yeah, you tell Dubas, we're willing to wait the whole time too, because we want to get our full value. Now it's a nasty situation.
I agree, and not only the Leafs, but this is spreads through all of hockey. You think of upcoming RFAs, Laine, your boy Rantanen, your boy Point, your boy Besser, all these guys, your boys, like they're gonna do the same shit. Some of them are probably gonna sit to start the season, and they're gonna ask for a lot of money, and they're gonna see this guy Willie, who can't even crack 25 goals, get 6.9 mil. And these guys like Point and Rantanen, who are MVP candidates this year, I mean, they're going to be asking for the Holy Grail. Oh, yeah. Now, the way this system is supposed to work, and I don't remember where I heard this, but when you're signing as an RFA, you don't have a lot of power. So the GM usually
he's got a little bit more power. He's able to get a bit more of a friendly deal. And then when you're a UFA like John Tavares, you hold all the cards, and you usually get a little more than you're worth. So in this case, it looks like the RFAs are now taking a little bit more of that power back with this deal, and they're going to start asking for, a little bit more than maybe what they deserve, as typical RFAs of the past have been getting. When you're a UFA and you have all that power, you can demand a little bit more. But now we're seeing a huge power imbalance, and this could set a lot of things off, as you said. And there's another factor. There's a little rumor trickling around out there. I don't know if you've been paying too much attention to it, but the big O word, the offer sheet rumor for the big old Austin. So what this exactly is, and how offer sheets work, is depending on the dollar value, that team that offers has to give up a sum of picks in compensation. So, for example, if Arizona, which is Austin Matthews' hometown team, decides they want to offer sheet Austin for max dollars, they basically put this $14 million contract on the table, and they say, this is our offer. The Leafs, you either match it, or we're going to give you all these picks and take Austin. Now, the deal here is they'd have to give up 4 first-round picks. 4.
Crazy.
That's insane amount of value. So that's why I don't see the offer sheet really being a problem. But there's some legitimate names out there that say it's a legitimate threat, which we haven't really seen in the NHL recently, or for any big names. I think the last one was Shea Weber, and it didn't end up turning into anything because Nashville matched it and then traded him off. So, yeah, what do you think of the offer sheet rumor out there?
Well, one thing I will say is I'm glad it's going to expedite the process, so to speak, because apparently the deadline to sign Matthews to kind of exempt that whole saga of getting to an offer sheet kind of ordeal would be July 1st. So what they were saying on Hockey Night in Canada was, okay, you set that as your deadline to sign Matthews and Marner, and then they'll be exempt from receiving any offers. I'm excited because hopefully that escalates the process. It speeds things up. We don't have to go through another lull like we did here with Nylander, because boy, oh boy, would that suck. And hopefully it gets the ball rolling here. In terms of what I think of offer sheets in general, I'm with you. I think that's a ridiculous price to pay. But, I mean, some teams like Arizona, generational talent from Arizona could change the whole franchise. How much revenue your team makes could save that franchise. Yeah. 'Cause that's what the rumor is now, that they're going to be moved out because they still can't build that arena in Arizona. So, maybe they would go that distance. But, until I see it, I'd be pretty doubtful.
Yeah, they'd have to be so comfortable with the young talent, the prospects that they have in their system right now in order to make that move. Because you're basically saying no first rounds for 4 years. That's insane. You're really mortgaging the future and putting it all on Austin's hands. But yeah, there's outside factors too. If they're really in trouble with numbers and relocation rumors, then Austin's a guy who could seemingly turn a whole franchise around for sure. So. Yeah, it's going to be really fun to keep our eye on, and hopefully it doesn't blow up into that kind of thing. But some weirder things have happened. But yeah, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, one more thing I will say though is, and I don't think this should go without saying, is Willie did really well for himself here. Like when you think about it, like he might get some shit like for sitting out all that long, but like long term, he's getting paid a lot of money for like not really having done much, which is kind of amazing when you think about it. Like you could tell he's super happy. Like in that interview, he was super happy. And I don't know if he's gonna. I don't know. Like I know it's been a real short sample size here. It's only been a couple games, and he's been all but trash so far. But
all donuts in the first game. No shots. No
awful.
Nothing.
Just awful. He was falling all over the place. It was just bad. You're right. Like, I don't know what they have him doing in Sweden, like how he's been preparing, but he just looked god awful. So,
yeah.
Right now he looks like a genius. He's got so much money to deal with. This is only his first contract. We'll see what he gets, when he turns 28 for his next contract. But regardless where he's playing in 2 or 3 or 4 years from now, I think he did really well for himself. So congrats to Willie on this one.
I mean, yeah, you said it best. I mean, what's he been doing? Playing right beside Austin Matthews and putting up 60 points. Fucking big deal. Yeah, and doing squat in the playoffs. Squat. Exactly. He was awful. If I'm not mistaken, Marner was our only guy going last year. And Marlowe and Marner were the only guys going for us.
Right.
Austin had that one goal. He was struggling too. So, yeah, well, that's the thing. He's got pressure on himself now. With this whole shebang he's caused, he's like, all of a sudden the spotlight's right on him. If you don't perform, you're going to look like an ass. 100%.
But you still get your paycheck.
Oh, yeah.
Like, who gives a fuck? Like, again, like, worst case scenario, okay, you're going to get chirped, but, like, you're still going to get your money, Whereas before, like, it's not like he's playing for a contract. Like, had he signed a bridge, then I think there'd be more pressure, there'd be more scrutiny, potentially. But now that he signed the big deal, it's kind of like, okay, best case scenario, I prove myself and I earn the contract. Worst case scenario, I still get my money,
Yeah, he did his job. The agent really worked it for him, but he was he made some of the calls too. He was brave to sit it out, but I just I wouldn't if he was my favorite player, put it this way, I'd be sorely disappointed. Sorely disappointed.
Oh, yeah. Like his reputation now is definitely tainted, at the very least, pretty slightly.
Slightly, yeah. There's tons of fans out there that will defend this move anyways, like till the day they die. But
yeah, but I feel like if you're Matthews or Marner, he's kind of your scapegoat because he kind of was the first one to like make himself look like an ass. Yeah. So now like you guys should look less like an ass, because he already kind of, went through the whole process of kind of looking greedy, Mm-hmm. And another thing, if I like just one last point here, like if I'm a guy like Jake Gardner who wants to stay on this team, like who sees this team in the window of winning and clearly wants to be a part of this project and loves the way he's fitting into Toronto, I must be looking at Willie and being not really pleased with him because I'm like, hey man, there's only so many slices of pizza here and you're eating them all. So like how am I going to fit under the cap here? Like now you're forcing me to take like a $4 million deal where I could be getting paid, 6+ anywhere else. So thanks, you fucking piece of shit. Like he's got to be whispering that to himself.
Oh, huh? I got to think that in that dressing room, even though everyone's like, saying the right thing out loud, there's guys just thinking, this guy's a fucking prick. It's got to be out there. He just pulls over, Ozhiganov and goes, "Oh yeah, fuck Willie over there." Like, what the hell is he? Who does he think he is? He's driving me out of the city. I got to move my, wife and kids and dog and all that.
Oh, it's awful. It's a cut like beneath all like the laughter and all the smiles and all the fun. It's a cutthroat business. So there's definitely some drama there for sure.
Perhaps. Yeah, he made a subtle vibe when he came back that kind of threw the team off whack a little bit, and I'm sure they'll get it back soon. But yeah, just a little imbalance of positivity perhaps is what's caused this mini losing streak here. Mm-hmm. But I want to go back, Nick, to a game earlier on in the week, and this was just before Willie got back. It was the Buffalo-Toronto game. Man, oh man, what a matchup! It had playoff electricity. It set up the Matthews versus Eichel storyline perfectly. Those guys were just working that night really, really well. And to be honest, to me, this game in particular, it set up what could be a fantastic rivalry for the next 5 years plus. Now we saw both teams, look amazing. They went all the way to overtime. You saw mostly Leafs fans in the Buffalo stands, but that's besides the point there. But that OT winner, man, that was magnificent. I think that's where you kind of saw that best wrister in the game kind of thing there.
Oh yeah, it was just one of those games. I mean, first off, it was historic because you had Ferraro and Gordon Miller on the TSN side. You had
Oh, yeah.
Pierre on the NBC side. So you
Jeez.
got Ferraro and Pierre in the middle of your screen the whole game.
Just
It was
battling.
fantastic. Oh, just battling. It's almost a battle within a battle, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, the game was fantastic. Like Eichel to me seemed off to start the game. And there was that shot I sent of you where he threw his helmet off and tossed it on the floor on the bench. He was so pissed with how the game was going. And then slowly he found his way. Out of nowhere, he scores that first goal. And then he adds another. And it was just a fantastic duel between Matthews and Eichel. And it's not the first time we've seen that. We've seen them go head-to-head before. So I thought it was great. The Stars came out to play. The fans were great, like you said, about a 50-50, 60-40 split, very loud fan base on both sides. Great goaltending. I mean, it was great. Rasmus Dahlin for the first time. I was never a real big Rasmus Dahlin guy. But I'm telling you, and I've never been a guy. No, because I've heard stuff from people. And I've heard how good he is, but even watching him in like the World Juniors and the occasional Buffalo game, I was never really taken off my feet. But in this game, he made some fantastic, like just little things. Like I know he didn't score a goal or anything, but just little hockey, the minutia of hockey, little plays where he would just make these smart little moves in his zone or in the offensive zone. I was just really impressed with his maturity for a kid so young. So kudos to him, kudos to Jack. I liked what I saw from Buffalo in general. Tage Thompson, he's a guy I've liked of late watching the Sabres. So
Yeah.
lot to like there. As a Leaf fan, it's I know it's hard to say, but this team's legit, and it looks like they're going to be in the playoffs. When you look at they're up like 8 points on the next team, like behind the wild card spot there in the Eastern Conference. So if they can keep this up, and Carter Hutton can keep playing like he's been playing, because they're going to need him to come through here. I don't see why this can't be a first-round matchup. I think it would be great.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, they have hit a bit of a skid since that 10-game winning streak. I think they've lost maybe 3 now. But, it's just everything kind of correcting itself. But, yeah, you're right. They do have the talent there. And just to touch on Rasmus Dahlin, I think when I look at, like, the mixture of hands and skating together in unison, he might be he might be top 3 in terms of defensemen right now. The guy skates with such fluidity. It's almost artistic to watch. I mean, you can just tell when he figures it out, when he figures the game out and the speeds and all the nuances and all that even more. This guy's gonna rack up points like crazy. That people said he was like the McDavid of defense. And I'm starting to see it just based on that like hands and skating kind of tandem. So, my gosh, he's good to watch. But yeah, in terms of Eichel and Matthews, you could just see their competitive edges just getting at each other. Like you knew there was an internal rivalry that they were kind of battling up against each other. But one thing I wanted to ask you about regarding Austin is. It kind of happened in the last game where he took a kind of a nasty hit, it was a pretty hard hit. I forget when it was. Might have been late in overtime or something. But I remember like everyone just being a little bit weary and nervous because he was kind of slow to get up and go to the bench. So I've been hearing people on the radio talk and raise concerns about the shoulder and all that, and. I don't know. People are getting pretty worried about the toughness of this Leafs team when it comes to like a playoff series. I mean, we saw them against Boston, and Boston's not an overly physical, large team, but Ray Ferraro was talking about guys who could get in people's faces, could protect your stars, but they could actually play. And Toronto doesn't really have a guy like that. Probably Zach Hyman comes to mind first, but. He's not the ideal guy. Do you think this team lacks a bit of that sandpaper that they would need to go for a deep run in the playoffs, especially with Austin's shoulder problems?
Well, I think it's important to underscore that because you don't want the classic enforcer Matt Martin. You don't want the guy who can't skate. You want a guy who can still play, but also has that grit factor to him. So, when I look at this Leafs team and I put myself in the shoes of a team that's playing them, I'm not really scared of any of their players. I don't think there's a guy who's going to be there to knock you down or to give you a hit if you attack Marner or something, or to even chirp you. Like, there's not a lot of just nastiness on this team. Like, they're all I know it sounds weird, but they're all kind of good guys on the Leafs, Like, who's there to actually fuck you up,
Yeah.
Like when you think about it, nobody. And you saw that yesterday in the Boston game. Ron Hainsey has to drop the gloves because no one else can.
That's not right.
He doesn't know what he's doing. He's
No.
showboating the guy, saying, "Hey, come at me," and then he runs into the boards behind him, and the next thing you know, he's down. So it's just, you see little things like that where guys are going out of their element, going out of their way to fill that void. And the Leafs don't have a guy who can naturally slot in and fill that void, because it's a need they have. And I don't think it's shown more so than these last few games. So I totally agree. But again, I do want to underscore, it can't just be this big hunky guy like a Matt Martin who just stops all pace when the puck goes to him. It has to be a guy who can play 10 minutes a night, but 10, impressive. He's actually contributing and can make plays and can pass the puck with a fourth liner like a Tyler Ennis, a guy who can keep up with him. You don't want a guy who's just a detriment to your team and every so often will come and get in a fight. That's irrelevant in today's NHL.
Yeah, Ray Ferraro made the comment, you don't want a bulldozer amongst race cars because you don't want the play to die on someone's stick. And if you look at it just as a whole, I mean, you don't have a player on the Leafs that sets the tone like that sets the don't mess with us physically kind of tone. Like, no one's gonna pay any sort of price physically when you face the Leafs. Let's be honest.
No,
I mean, sure, you're gonna get scored on and stuff like that, but if you picture, let me rewind a little bit. As when Shea Weber came back, the feeling that I got from the Canadians that everyone felt a foot taller. Everyone all of a sudden just kind of played a little bit bigger than they were. So if you have a guy like Weber, for example, in Montreal against Toronto, sure, maybe he not the fleetest of foot, but if he gets a couple good licks in on some of the stars there and really wears them down, that would be worrying to me for sure. If as a Toronto fan, I mean, it could come to an effect where Kyle Dubas has to make a move. And we mentioned he has to be able to play. And I look at a guy like Andrew Shaw, who fits in really well on that Domi Drouin line. And he's actually he's that sandpaper role. Like, he can play the Zach Hyman role. He can lay big hits. And he's another kind of guy that makes Domi and Drouin feel a foot taller when they play. So a guy like Shaw, I think, would work so well with the Leafs team. It's just you can't really subtract a key piece of that line either, So it's going to be hard, but he doesn't necessarily have to play on that line, but you have to be able to set a precedence for your team physically.
No, and look no further than Stanley Cup winners, right? Look at
Tom Wilson. There you go.
They got speed. You got Tom Wilson. Even Oshie throws the body around.
Yeah.
Orlov on defense. I mean, you have guys who just are renowned for throwing the body around and who can get in the greasy zones and muck some guys up. And look at their counterparts. Vegas, Ryan Reeves, Will Carrier, arguably the best fourth line. And we'll get into Carrier later on in the show because I got something to say about him. But you're looking at the best fourth line in hockey there. Because these guys, they can score. They're not just there to be bulldozers. They still are productive. They still score. They can drive a line.
Yeah.
So
Winnipeg's big.
Yeah, Winnipeg too. I mean, Leafs would not be able to compete with these teams. I'm sorry. And they're just, like, I hate to say it because I'm a Leafs fan, but they're kind of just a bunch of babies. Like, do you ever see Tavares like chirp a guy, like, or
No,
open his
no,
mouth?
no.
I swear
No.
to God, Tavares is like, he talks to nobody. Marner talks to nobody. Kapanen talks to nobody. Janssen talks to nobody. Matthews talks to nobody. Nylander, nobody. Like, there's none of these guys actually are like Gallagher's who are there to like be pests and like get you off your game. You know,
Yeah.
I'm and I'm not seeing it. And it's getting me worried because I know it's only game 30. They just had their 30th game, but still, it makes me concerned.
Now let me ask you this: does Tampa have something like that?
They do. Cedric Paquette.
Ah.
And they got size on their depth chart. You got a guy like a Killorn. He'll
Yeah.
throw the body around.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
Hedman's
that
a
fourth
big
line-
guy.
Oh yeah, Hedman's a big guy. I mean, they've got it for sure. They've got more tenacity, and they've been there before. They've been to the Cup final. They know what it's like. They've had to have those guys there. So I don't think they're worried. I think they're a little more complete with the Leafs. And it's funny you mention them because, Kyle, this Thursday, Leafs Tampa.
Oh.
Finally.
I'll be done my
Finally.
exams and I'll be watching
wow.
that. When are you coming back? Like, are you going to be back on time?
Oh, fuck no. I'm here for another 10 days.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but I'll be watching because I got an exam Thursday, but I will be free that night. So
Yeah, that
I'm really
could be-
looking forward to it.
You know what
That's gonna be
sucks is that how would that work? That would never be an East final, would it? Because they're both in the Atlantic, right?
fun.
That'd either be first or second round, depending.
Yeah, because
Which is sad.
It could only be the final if one of them was a wild card team.
Oh
and
yes,
ended up
yes.
in the Metro bracket, but
Which
that
is not
of course
happening.
won't happen. So yeah. I mean, yet again another downer of the whole new playoff format and Bettman's new format, where you have these teams, Boston, Toronto, Tampa, where only one of them's getting past the first two rounds.
Yeah, it reminds me of Winnipeg, Nashville last year.
Right.
That should have been a West final.
Yeah. And
But
speaking of those of Tampa, you saw them light up Colorado the other night, eh?
I did, yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
didn't watch
they-
it, but yeah, it's a
They laid a touchdown on them, 7 goals.
it's a rare misstep by the Avalanche, and it really cost me with my Varlamov goaltender in the Andrew League.
Right. And
Yeah,
one more thing I want to touch on before we move on here.
Yeah.
I know we talked about Buffalo.
Buffalo,
This
coming
was
for you.
crazy. Yeah, Buffalo, I'm coming for you, and they are coming
Yeah,
for the 2019 draft. I know it's one of the best drafts this coming summer. Get this: if the San Jose Sharks, who we've talked about quite a bit the last 2 weeks, if the San Jose Sharks miss the playoffs somehow, and it could happen the way they're playing,
yeah.
Buffalo will have 3 first-round picks
Good Christ,
in an amazing draft.
Christ.
If already they aren't good enough, then oh wow! I just got some breaking news here.
Really?
Antti Ranta will miss the remainder of the NHL season.
No.
Yeah, I'm just breaking that right now.
Wow.
Yeah, that's breaking news right now. Antti Ranta will be missing the rest of the season, which probably takes out Arizona out of that Pacific Division.
They're done.
they're done.
They're finished already.
Yeah.
So they'll be in the Hughes race.
They will be in the Hughes race along with LA and St.
St. Louis.
by the looks
Oh,
of it. And
man.
Chicago.
You know what?
But anyways, yeah, no, go on.
No, yeah, you go on. I was going to go off in a different
I was just
direction.
going to finish on Buffalo.
Yeah.
So, yeah, long story short, 3 first-round picks if San Jose misses. I know it's not likely, but hey, I mean, there's a shot. I mean, a lot of those teams in that Western Conference are in it. I mean, Vegas, they're making their push. San Jose has caught some fire, Anaheim's caught some fire of late. Edmonton, obviously, we'll get into them very shortly.
Yep.
I mean, it could foreseeably happen. And
Yeah.
if it does, that would be huge for Buffalo because they're already so loaded, and if they get 3 first-round picks, that would just change the whole landscape in the Atlantic Division, if you ask me.
So who's their other pick? They have their own. They have the potential San
I
Jose.
don't
Who's
know.
the other one? Was
I
it part of the St. Louis O'Reilly
St. Louis,
deal?
maybe. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I think
But-
they definitely.
Yeah. Well, St. Louis has their
definitely
own,
first.
maybe they gave them a different one. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Yeah, but that's interesting though. And they're already loaded prospect wise. So yeah, they're laughing. They're laughing all day. That reminds me of a Colorado situation where they're bad, or sorry, they're already great on prospects and they have a sweet pick coming up. Right. My goodness. But yeah, let's
yeah, what did you want to touch on?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I lost it. What was it? Forget it. Maybe it'll come back to me. But yeah, you mentioned Edmonton there, and man, they've been kind of coming back with their season here, Nick. I guess Ken Hitchcock has had some sort of effect on the team. We're looking at the Edmonton Oilers today, and they're 1 point out of a playoff spot. Their goals against average has gone way down. McDavid's ice time has gone to historic 5-on-5 levels. Historic. What is it, like 25 minutes some nights? 5-on-5 regular? Holy shit. Now, I haven't watched. For you. Yeah, to be honest, Nick, ever since Hitchcock took over, I don't even want to watch this team because I have this thought in my head that they're going to be boring. Am I right on that, or what's going on there?
Yeah, they're certainly not the most high scoring of games.
Except for the last one, 7-2 or something.
Yeah, but no, it was pretty comedic. It was one of his first games. It was when they were still on that California road trip. I think they lost a game like 2-1 in Anaheim or something, and they were interviewing Hitch afterwards, and they were like, so, these 1-0, 2-1 games, is this kind of how we're going to get used to seeing Ken Hitchcock hockey?
It hurts.
and Hitch was just like, we're going to keep them to 0, 1, and 2. And that's
nice.
what we're going to try to do. and as a fantasy owner of like Talbot or Koskinen, I'm like, hey, that sounds great. But like from like an actual just guy who wants to see offense,
it's lame.
Yeah, this team has definitely left a lot to be desired in that respect. But I mean, they're getting it done. 6-2-1 since the big coaching change. 2.3 GAA, which in today's NHL with all the scoring is pretty fantastic. And they're, I don't know, within a couple points, 1 or 2 points of a playoff spot now. So he has salvaged their season, which a lot of people thought could not be done. I know you weren't too high on it. You weren't buying into the coaching change too much. You had them on the outside looking in your latest predictions.
Yeah.
But I told you, I'm a believer in coaches. I think it can change a lot, especially this guy who I know for quite some time when he was coaching in St. Louis. And he hasn't proven me wrong yet. They're even beating the Flames right now, 1-0 after one. So, this is lots of encouraging things in Edmonton. Maybe not the sexiest hockey, but it's working. That's all that matters.
So, give me a percentage on how much you think they're going to make, or odds they're going to make the playoffs.
85%.
Wow.
Yeah, I look at the weakness in that division, just the fact it's the worst division in hockey, and just the fact I just have so much faith in him. This guy can change so much. Like, it's crazy the effect he's had. Like,
so how come he couldn't get anything done in Dallas?
See, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was the team that was there. The team wasn't really tailored to his game. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't watch too much of Dallas last year, and that's just what I was thinking, actually, when I was talking about him. But I'm telling you, like, with those years he was coaching in St. Louis, they never had a bad season. Like, they always made the playoffs, or they were, like, they literally made the playoffs every year. They were steady the whole way, and that was with subpar goaltending, with Brian Elliott and Jake Allen.
Very subpar.
And now he's got better goaltending because this Koskinen guy looks great. And it's awesome, and he's making their job easy. Talbot's regained his form under this new Hitchcock system. There's kind of like a timeshare now, so I own both of them for that very reason. Because every night I just know this team's not going to let 4 goals or more in, which is just amazing. So I'm all into it. I don't know what happened in Dallas, but hey, what matters is the present, and it looks like he's got this team to buy into what he's doing, because and it makes sense. I mean, playing McDavid 25 minutes a night, why not? He's the best player in the league. If you were the coach, wouldn't you do the same?
I would worry about, burning him out or injury, probably, but it depends where you are in the standings. If you're doing okay, then maybe I bump the minutes down. But where they are right now, I get it.
No, I agree. And from what I hear, like it's kind of simple what they're doing. Like he's essentially just asking their other three lines to play defensively and to play like a neutral hockey the whole game, like just smart, don't necessarily try to score. And then he just lets the McDavid line out loose to do all the scoring for him.
Release
Like
the hounds.
Like it sounds very simple, like it sounds very elementary, but I mean it's worked. And like if you were the coach, like it sounds rational,
Yeah, sure. You know who hasn't been doing well, Nick?
Who's
Columbus.
that?
And you know what I love? Columbus is on a losing streak. Torts comes out, coaches a game in a sweater. Did you see that?
I was gonna ask you as a Christmas present if you could get me one of those Columbus Blue Jackets hoodies. That would be awesome.
What do you think? I'm going to Columbus or something?
I'm just saying. Like,
Where's this coming from?
I don't know. Like it's good advertising. Like he's wearing that Adidas Columbus Blue Jackets sweater. You could probably order it on NHL.com. He's doing good advertising for the fans, and I think it would be a good look.
Does he set a new standard?
If you want a cheap Halloween costume, just put on a Columbus Blue Jackets hoodie and say you're John Tortorella.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. Like if I were a coach, I'd do the same shit. I'd never wear a suit. I just wear a sweatsuit every game.
I don't know, man. I think this is unprofessional. And the fact that it's coming when he's losing, it's not cool. It's just not cool. I wonder if he got the go-ahead from the GM or if he just said, you know what? I'm going to wear a sweater today. It's like, could you imagine Mike Babcock wearing a sweater at a Leafs game? Could you imagine Barry Trotz with Lou Lamoriello wearing a sweater at a game? Come on, man. Joel Quenneville, the greatest coach of all time.
Listen.
Sweater.
All I'm going to say is apparently he was feeling under the weather, so like he actually has an excuse, presumably.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't know, if you could barely make your way to the arena, I think it would make sense to just put on a hoodie,
Yeah.
But yeah,
he just doesn't care, does he?
No.
I'm sick.
That's why. He wasn't even doing like the post-game press conferences. Like he straight up would tell his assistant coach to do the press conferences for him.
Huh.
So
and he loves
I buy
those.
in. Oh yeah, and he loves it. So I mean, if he's skipping that, he must definitely be sick. So I don't know. It's comedic, but I wouldn't be too hard on the guy. He's getting old. The team's not doing so well.
He's not that
probably
old.
He's probably losing his voice, having to yell at them every game of late. So
why do you say that? He's getting old. He's not that old.
well, I just feel like he's been in the league for a while.
He's one of the younger coaches, isn't he?
He's
Look
a
at
grizzled
Hitchcock.
veteran.
The old
I
penguin.
guess. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what he's upset about. I mean, they're right up there in the Metro division, second place in the Metro. I think he's got to settle down. They'll get their act together, and yeah.
I like their
Hopefully,
team this year to go
yeah.
to go more than one round. I really do.
Right.
I think they got it in them. You know who's
Let's
doing
hope so.
well?
Who's doing well?
Montreal Canadiens, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
The Montreal Canadiens. So I want to quickly touch on the Weber effect, as I did a little bit before. So since Weber's come back, I think they're like 4-2 or 5-2. Anyways, they've gotten about 40 plus shots per game, and not including tonight, in 4 straight games. They go 40, 40, 40, 40, and better yet, they're limiting their opponents to around 20 to 25 shots. We've also seen Jonathan Drouin finally eclipse into this player that he's the player Mark Bergevin traded for. Finally, he's arrived. Like we're looking at Sergachev and going, who the hell's Sergachev? He's had an awful year. Drouin's on pace for 72 points now, and he's got. And this is without. This is my favorite part, Nick. Drouin's having a good statistical year so far, and this is without a strong power play count. So he's got 7 power play points, and I think he's got 28 points total. So those are very healthy numbers. So yeah, it's cool. The chemistry that he's found with Domi. I think they were talking about how they had a good friendship off the ice. It's a cool dynamic duo, and they say it's their Montreal's best dynamic duo in recent memory. Like they can't really think of 2 good dynamic players that that have played there recently. So it's really fun to watch these days. And they're another team that's limiting their goals against. I mean, I look at Price's last 6 or 7 games, and the highest has been 3 goals. So everything's kind of coming together with that defense, and all of a sudden you move Petrie down one line, and you've got Juleson coming back. So I don't know, Montreal, they're starting to impress me a little bit. And you saw tonight they battled back, not battled back, but they really fought it against Chicago with all those damn power plays they had. So yeah, I like Montreal, and I'm getting more and more confident every day that they're gonna lock down a wild card spot here, Nick.
Well, and not to mention that, I mean, they manhandle Ottawa 2 nights in a row, right? I mean, that's a good indication of where they sit in that Atlantic Division, because they're hanging tough against the good teams like the Tampas and the Leafs and the Bostons. And then when you play those teams who are clearly, on paper should be worse than you, you're winning pretty decisively. So as a guy kind of looking at the periphery here, totally, unbiased, not really a fan of the team, those were good things to see. You nailed it with Domi and Drouin. They gave the Sens a hard time. Mark Bergevin all of a sudden looks like a genius, acquiring this guy who everybody thought was done, had only scored 9 goals the previous year or 2 years, and now he's over a point per game pace. I mean, this has got to be the first good move Bergevin's made in his whole tenure in Montreal, and it's seemingly reversed his whole reputation. So kudos to him, kudos to Domi. And it seems like ever since Weber's come back, Claude Julien, he's been able to implement his system, as you said, with the shots against, the scoring chances against. Carey Price looks like vintage Price yet again. We saw that in the Chicago game just a few hours ago. Things are clicking. They're healthy for once. Paul Byron's back. I mean, it's everything is good right now in Montreal, and you can only hope they keep this up.
Nick, I think we have to change our song. I mean, we just we have a line in there like just shitting on Bergevin. We got to change the song soon. We'll see. Maybe we look for that over the break here, which is coming up in the next few days. But one thing I want to shout out is, I mean, sure, we got to give Bergevin credit, but it seems like, and I don't know his name or his history, but their pro scout, it seems like he's a savvy character, because he targeted Tatar as a guy that they could get value out of. They also targeted Domi as a guy who they could get value out of. So I think he's done a fantastic job. I wish I knew his name and had it in front of me, but I just want to give him a shout out, because he's obviously doing something right. And
I don't know the guy, but sounds like he's doing a good job. Yeah.
Sounds like we should ask Pierre, because he's probably known him since high school or something.
Right. Yeah. No kidding.
I want to quickly touch on the Ottawa Senators, who, I'm just going to say it here with just my personal opinion. Without Duchesne, who's out for weeks with a longer-term injury, Ottawa is officially finished. Any hopes they had of crawling out of the basement there. I mean, one thing I will say, I'm so impressed with Mark Stone. This guy has won his way into my heart. Seriously, Nick, he could make top line on any team just out of his character, his skill. This is a guy everybody wants. I mean, he continues to impress me, and man, he's going to get a monstrous contract after this year.
You think he resigns?
That's tough, man. Like, I think things have gone.
Huge.
Yeah, it is. I think things have gone so much better than anyone expected with personnel, with players. Kachuk looks good. White looks good. Duchesne's kicking it up. Shabbat's kicking it up. So, the future is bright in Ottawa. So I think that might encourage him. But has he kind of said, I'm tired of this ownership? Maybe. It's so 50-50 for me. It's just, if they're willing to pay Stone, I think he's probably going to stay based on, his loyalty and his character.
So if he stays, does that automatically mean Duchesne stays?
I think those guys are going to talk. I think they're going to say, you know what, if you're going to stay, I'm going to stay. Because with those two, they actually have a legitimate offense. And And especially with those pieces around them, you got Batherson, White, Kachuk, and the Formanton coming. I mean, this is a very good core. And I mean, Stone and Duchesne are not old players, so it could be a good core for very, very many years to come. So I'd like to see the band stay together. It could be a team that I end up really liking, actually, despite all the nonsense. So I hope he stays, and I think it's 50-50, but if they're willing to pay these two guys, I think they'll do it.
And one last question I have for you is, I know at the start of the year we were really rough on this team. We said they'd be at the very basement by the end of the year. We were kind of joking around saying, the people in Colorado are watching anxiously to see if they'll be in the Jack Hughes hunt.
Yeah.
I know you don't see this team going in the playoffs, but where do you see them sitting then at the end of the year? Are they just fringe playoffs, or are they at the basement so some guy in Colorado will be dancing because he's going to get a shot at Jack Hughes?
Here's what I'll say. In terms of the bottom of the standings, Ottawa's draft pick will be in the 4 to 8 range.
So then does that make... I guess that makes the Kachuk draft pick a good pick?
I was very critical on that pick earlier, their decision to keep it. I think it was a very good move. I think, Kachuk right now, he's looking like a can't-miss guy. And if you pick 4th overall this year, you might get someone who compares to Kachuk, but if you know you're going to get that kind of player and you know who he is, just keep the guy. Sure, you might be, whittling away on a Jack Hughes pick, but chances are you're not going to get Jack Hughes even if you're last. So I have no problem with their decision to keep Kachuk, even though I was critical earlier on.
Yeah, no, the guy's a point per game pace right now, pretty much.
Yeah,
and I think if he can be in the Rookie of the Year discussion at the end of the year,
it's
he's
huge.
Definitely leading the charge there. But if he can just be in the discussion, I think that would go a long way in kind of making it look like a salvageable situation, and not making Pierre Dorion look like a schmuck here. Because that would be pretty big. If he can prove himself, be in the Rookie of the Year conversation, Ottawa's not like one of the bottom 5 teams at the end of the year, then I think you can say they made the right call.
Yeah, and we should mention too that Pierre Dorion is probably not as bad of a GM as we've made him out to be, and I think there's definitely some strings being pulled by Eugene Melnyk on some of the deals he's made. So, yeah, I think he might actually be a decent GM when all is said and done. It's just he's got that big ugly brood up above him, so we should give him a little bit of a shout out there. But as Pierre likes to say, the future's definitely bright here, and you'll see Alex Formanton on the Team Canada squad. The guy, they say he can skate like the wind. So yeah, very very exciting times, and Logan Brown lighting it up in the AHL, I think too. So yeah, it's looking good for Ottawa. And shout out to Pierre Dorion. You're not awful, man. You're pretty good. Him and Bergevin, they need to grab a beer and just have a few words about the world. Just be like, fuck those guys. We showed them.
Speaking of World Juniors, did you want to touch at all on the latest announcement with Team Canada?
Yes, I wanted to do that as the last section there. I'll have you quickly do your little fantasy segment on Will Carrier and company.
I'll be very
we get
quick
into
here.
that.
Very very brief.
Sure.
Will Carrier, I am going to make the case right now
in
front of the jury that I think this guy is must own in any league, 10 plus teams.
Okay.
I think when you look at what he contributes in terms of just the raw hits category, you see the margin between him and the second best hitter in the league, who I believe is his teammate Ryan Reeves. Carrier 159, Reeves 122. So we're only 30 games into the season. This guy's already got 159 hits. You look at his you look at the past few games: 6 hits, 6, 5, 6, 4, 6, 7, 7. It's just consistency that no other guy in the league has. He has seemingly won every single week for me in terms of hits. He's done the same for Andrew in the other league. it's crazy. And I think there's a real case that needs to be made for this guy to be owned more. He's only 19% owned. He shoots the puck too. It's not like he's a total duster. I mean, I believe he's got something like 76 shots more than a guy like Matthew Barzal. You know, he's scored a couple goals, 2 or 3 goals. I mean, he's playing on the best fourth line in the league, as we said earlier. So I'm a big fan, and I think more people need to jump on this bandwagon. I'm telling you, if you pick this guy up, and you got a team that's more skills based, you know, you don't really have a lot of grit. You're more so going for the points, which, you know, ought to be the way you should play. I mean, get those shots, get those power play points, get those goals, assists, but just pick up this guy, have him just sit somewhere on your 20-man roster or whatever. And this guy will prove his worth. Every week he will consistently get you those hits you're looking for, and he will get you that one category. You know, every week you're just looking to get 5 or 6. You know, everyone loves a blowout. Everyone loves to win their head-to-head 9-0, 10-0. But at the end of the day, you're going to do fine if you just get 5 every week. And this guy's going to get you one of those 5. So that's my case. Pick up Willie Carrier.
Yeah, I won't lie. I kind of went wide-eyed when I saw his hit totals. That's like
crazy.
6 a game. That's like, yeah.
Consistently, yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I wish he was a D because I like to just stash
Right.
hits on my D. Yeah. But, man, that's a scary fourth line out there. Him, Reeves. Who's the third guy? I don't even know.
I don't even know. But that's all that needs to be said.
Yeah. I mean, you put that line out there and you know people are just getting punished. Like, it'd be funny when they face off against Toronto now that we talked about that previous topic. They're just going to get bullied. And nothing's going to happen. And just sorry to go back, but Babcock made the comment, yeah, like our power play is our defense. Well, you know, someone made the comment as well. What happens when they put the whistles away in the playoffs? I mean, that's going to happen too, you know. So,
right.
Yeah, but yeah, what a scary fourth line. I can't believe they got all those guys in one little trio. Fuck, that's crazy. But yeah, definitely worth the pickup. But are you saying you're going to keep him the whole time?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not getting rid of him. And I just, there's no way I can lose hits. I'm winning every week. When you combine him with Ovechkin and like a Dustin Brown, I mean, there's no way I'm losing. I do have Dustin Brown because he's actually like almost a point per game player. So I just between those 3 guys, and then Ferland too. I know he's injured right now, but between having Ferland, Brown, and Carrier and Ovechkin, you're not losing hits. I'm sorry, and I've been winning by a very wide margin every week. So I'm happy with those guys.
Fair. All right, well we'll get to our last little topic here. So we saw recently last week that it's that time of the year again, folks. The World Juniors are right around the corner, and Team Canada announced its final camp roster. So it's a bunch of guys that are going to go in to camp in a few days, I think, and they're going to battle it out to make the final roster. Now, what I did was I looked at the list. All in all, there were a few snubs that people might have considered. Guys like Kirby Doc and Dylan Cousins that are eligible for this year's draft. But honestly, I think they had some good choices to come to the camp. And what I want to do...
Those guys got snubbed?
They didn't make it to the camp, no.
You were just talking about them like 2 or 3 weeks ago. You got me excited. And they're not going to play on Team Canada?
No, well, what you have to realize is it's very rare for a draft eligible like this, like a non-drafted guy to make the team. Especially on Canada. Like, you'll see it all the time with other teams, but on Canada, with our depth, it's so rare that we take a 17-year-old. It almost never happens. Well, I'll get to that in a second, won't I? I'll get there. You know, he's a bit of an exception, Nick. A bit of an exception. You heard Craig Button. The way I describe this guy is, I forget what he said, but he had such a horrible take on it. He had a horrible take. I think it was dumb, but what I want to do right now is I've done my research, some in-depth research, Nick, and I want to give you my projected roster Now, these guys might not line up exactly how I say it here, but I really think that this is a good representation of the personnel that you're going to see. Now, let me know if any names stick out for you. First line, Maxime Comtois of the Anaheim Ducks.
I like him.
Cody Glass, Vegas'
I like
first
him.
ever pick. Nick Suzuki, Vegas' second ever pick. So that'll be a fantastic first line with Glass centering. Suzuki's
Former
usually a
teammates, right?
center.
Suzuki and Glass. They were both drafted by Vegas.
Yes, but I don't think they really played together there before the trade happened. So yeah, Suzuki's one of those guys, and this is going to happen, Nick, where a centerman is going to play on the wing. You see that often with Team Canada. It's just a matter
Budden
of...
called him Swiss Army knife. Right?
Yes. Yeah, and this guy can really do it all.
Yeah.
Then we have second line, and there's going to be a couple names you recognize here. Alex Formy, who has deadly speed. I think some of the Ottawa guys, I think Eugene said, he's got McDavid level speed, which is just
Nice.
ridiculous. But Formanton, Gabe Velarde, and
So
Owen
you
Tippett.
see him making the team.
Oh, Velarde's a lock.
He's going to be healthy?
Oh, yes.
Because
I think
he's injured right now. You do know that.
Oh, well, right now, Nick, he's in the AHL. He's on a conditioning stint.
But he's injured right now in the AHL.
Really? He got knocked out again?
I've been reading he didn't play in their last game, the Ontario Reign. He's going to be reevaluated tomorrow. He had some X-rays done. We're going to hear some news tomorrow.
No.
I'm telling you, I'm on the situation in LA, and it's not looking too bright. So we're going to get a report tomorrow, and hopefully we get some good news.
That's a major hit. This guy's he could be a legitimate star on this team.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hit, but oh man, I hope he's okay. And then on the right side there we have Owen Tippett, who's just a pure snipe show from Florida, the Florida draft pick. This guy's like a Kessel. Like, he's not going to do a whole lot for you. Like, doesn't really do much, but when he shoots it, you're like, oh man, that guy can really fire it. So he could load up a lot of goals in the tournament. This is an interesting third line here. Morgan Frost, who's moved to the left wing, playing with teammate Barrett Hayton, who was recently the fifth overall pick of Arizona. He was that surprise pick. And Ty Dellandrea. Now, Ty Dellandrea might be a name that not many people recognize. He was actually the pick by Dallas. And he's kind of like, he's our spark plug. He's going to be like a Brendan Gallagher. Doesn't have maybe the skill to compete with some of these other guys, but he's going to be a guy who can really run your forecheck and get under the other team's skin. So onto the fourth line, and this is where things get a little bit, things can change here. So we've got Alexis Lafreniere sneaking onto the team, and I'll get to that in a second. On the left wing there, centerman is Joe Veleno, who has just had a huge resurgence in the queue, just absolutely lighting it up after being picked 30th. And then Brett Leeson. Now, Nick, do you know who Brett Leeson is?
No, sir.
I'm not surprised because he's a guy that's been passed over in the last two drafts. He's a 19-year-old who's undrafted, and he's absolutely tearing the WHL apart. He's leading the league by a huge margin, and he could be one of those guys who's picked in the second or third round this year as a 19-year-old. So they project him to make the team, and he's kind of hard to read because, you know, he's one of those overage guys who's a huge late bloomer. Think of Tanner Pearson kind of guy. So he's favored to make it as well. And then last guy is Liam Foodie out of the London Knights, Columbus draft pick. Now he's kind of a guy like Formanton where he's just an all-out speedster. This guy, he's good offensively in terms of instincts and all that, but he's just going to be able to give this team a speed identity, which is beautiful. And they can plug him in wherever. He's an energy guy too. So that's the forwards, and it's a dangerous crop. But the defense is what I really get excited about.
No Jared Anderson Dolan?
No, I mean, it's possible, but
He's hurt. He's hurt.
is he really?
Yeah, he's hurt. He's not gonna. He's not making the team, not because he's not gonna make it. Like in terms of talent, he's just hurt. He got invited to the camp because they were encouraged by his play, but it doesn't look like he's gonna go to camp.
That's sad.
Yeah, but I was just mentioning him because 4 LA Kings prospects were named to the camp, which I thought was very encouraging.
Yeah. Wait, yeah. Who else do they have? They have Velarde.
They got
Dolan.
the one of the 3 goalies, Velada,
Oh,
and
Velada.
his name's
He's not
Matthew
making it.
Villalta.
Yeah, he's not making it.
He's one of the 3 goalies, and Marcus Phillips on defense.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Do you have Phillips? Do you have Phillips making the team? on
I
defense?
don't.
Oh boy,
The defense is very deep. It's a really good defense. But, I mean, he could make it because, honestly, I have no idea what I'm talking about after the top 5D.
Okay.
So I wanted to quickly touch on Lafreniere there. So now it's very unprecedented for a 17-year-old, especially one that just turned 17, to make this team. The last guy to do it was McDavid. The last Q guy to do it was Drouin. So if he does make this team, it'll have to be on a more of a scoring role. Like, he doesn't serve you well in your bottom 6, and I know that's where I put him, but I just kind of put him there for whatever. So if he doesn't land and earn a top scoring role, then I don't know if he does make this team, because he has an underdeveloped defensive game, put it that way. But I mean, Button said if he's playing his game, he's our best left winger. So he could very well be a huge staple on this team. I'm just we have to wait and see. I just want to quickly run over the D. Now, I love this defense. It's really nice. Ty Smith on the left side. This guy's lighting up the WHL, and I think, New Jersey pick. Noah Dobson of the Islanders. Pierre-Olivier Joseph, which is Matthew Joseph's brother from Tampa Bay there. He looked fantastic. Evan Bouchard, who you'll know from Edmonton. So he's going to be a huge part of this team too.
He's a lock.
Yeah, absolutely. Him and Dobson are going to be the mainstays on defense. So that's already looking like a good defense. And then we have, these last 3 you might not be fully aware of, but Jared McIsaac, who's just a quiet shutdown guy. You've got Josh Brook, who's the Montreal prospect, who's doing very, very, very well in the WHL for them. And then this last guy, Mitchell, who I don't know much about him, but I threw him in there because everyone else was saying that he would be pretty good. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But that top 4 on the defense, from the guys I've talked to on social media, it seems like Canada has the most well-rounded defense of the tournament, but Sweden has the most dynamic defense. I mean, they got some crazy. They got Sandin, Liljegren, those 2 Toronto guys. So yeah, they're looking really, really good too. Not to mention Adam Boqvist, who's the Chicago pick. My goodness, they're going to be good. And then goalies, simply Mike DiPietro and Ian Scott. And DiPietro, I forget what he was drafted by. But DiPietro is going to be our number 1 goalie. He's pretty well a lock. And
So
I think,
is he related to the DiPietro who we know from the one for the Islanders?
I don't think so. I think someone would have made that comment already, but no, he's his own guy, and he seems like a really good character. They interviewed him on TSN, so yeah, he's really just a solid, steady, easygoing guy, easygoing goaltender.
I think the other goalie, he's
Ian
a
Scott.
Leafs draft pick. Leafs pick.
Yeah, he's pretty much a lock to be the backup too. I mean, I don't know who that third guy is, but no one's kind of pegging that guy to make it. So this guy, Ian Scott, he'll see a couple games against some low competition guys, but DiPietro is the main guy. But yeah, all in all, this is going to be a fantastic tournament. I mean, this is up there with, I'd say, top 3 best Canada teams in the last 6 years. So yeah, everything could go really well, and I just can't wait to see that the Hughes brothers face off against Canada. It's going to be a hell of a matchup, especially if Lafreniere makes the team, because those comparisons are going to get going.
So for the curiosity of our other listeners from the States and from Russia and from Sweden and Finland, where do you see these teams stacking up? Who's the major threat? I know you obviously probably have Canada right up there, either for best or second best. But
Yeah.
who's their major threat? What's the team you're going to be eyeing here?
So honestly, the major threat here is the Russians. Now that's based on some of their guys I know, and a lot of it is based on what Button says. But these Russians, we saw them in the CHL series. They're really good, and they have some really amazing chemistry together. So they're going to be extremely dangerous. Sweden, I believe they're backloaded. They have a really, really good defense, but maybe a little bit weaker forwards than usual. But they're going to be a threat without a doubt. And obviously USA is going to be a threat every year. But honestly, it depends what we see out of guys like Wahlstrom. Because we know what the Hughes brothers are going to bring. You're going to see Quinn as the quarterback, and it's going to be magnificent. Skating, like the USA team is going to be fast. Like that's what we can expect. That's why I put guys like Foodie on there and Formanton, because these guys are going to be able to skate with the Hughes guys. But if guys like Wahlstrom, who's just a pure sniper, can get good chemistry going with Jack, man, that's going to be a lethal duo. Because Wahlstrom was one of the best scorers out of the 2018 draft. So yeah, they're dangerous. I mean, those two as a duo, they could seemingly tear up any team. So yeah, from what Button says, the USA team isn't a favorite like Russia or Canada is, but put Sweden and USA just a slight tier below. But we'll see what happens, Nick. I mean, Button has been known to make some mistakes out there too. So yeah, I'm terribly terrified of USA personally, but yeah, I just can't wait to see it.
I'm super excited to see them play because, in one respect, I see Jack and as a LA St. Louis fan, this will be my first time to actually. I've read the reports, I've read the scoring, the game logs, but this will be my first chance to actually see the kid play, And Quinn, I've heard so many great things about him right now in college. I mean, he's such a great skater. On Vancouver radio, I heard this guy's he's straight up like skating backwards. He's doing like backward circles in his defensive zone. Like he's just having fun. Like it's crazy what I've heard about this kid. So the Hughes brothers, I'm super excited to see them play.
If USA goes deep, this tournament could turn into the Hughes tournament. I mean. Quinn's going to be like the main staple of that power play, and then Jack can just literally run circles around the offensive zone seemingly all day.
It's in Vancouver in Victoria, BC, right? So
yes, Victoria.
He's going to have a lot of Canucks fans there seeing him play, right, Quinn?
Oh, I didn't even think of that little storyline.
That's a huge thing, yeah.
They're going to love that.
Oh yeah.
That'll be reminiscent of Austin playing on the World Cup team.
Right.
Before he ever played a Leafs game in Toronto. They're gonna get a little taste of what is to come. But yeah, we're excited, man. That's gonna be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, Nick, I think that's all the segments.
Yeah, no, I think we covered a lot of bases. I mean, the main point we wanted to get across to the audience was obviously the Nylander news, because we were talking a lot about that in the last few weeks. We gave our predictions, what would happen. We gave some mock trades. Of course, that all went to shit, but it was fun anyways.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure you guys are glad the wait's over. We're sure as hell glad the wait's over, and now we see what the Leafs do with this. And should be a fun last 4 months of the season here.
I can't believe we're this far in already.
Mm-hmm. And as I said, hey, this far in, still no Leafs Tampa, but the first matchup. Every hockey fan should watch this game. If you're not a Leafs fan, if you're not a Tampa fan, you should tune in this Thursday night to see the two most. Well, I don't know. Colorado's got something to say about that, but the two most explosive, fast-paced teams in the league, Toronto and Tampa Bay, top two teams in the league right now.
In terms of goal scoring, absolutely. Yeah,
and
look at goals for, yeah. The two titans of the East. Can't wait.
Pretty much, yeah.
And on that bombshell, everybody, it's been great to talk to you.
And this is Rink Moose signing off.